I'd like to call to order today's Metropolitan Area Planning Commission meeting. At this point, if we could have our opening comments, please.
Before we begin the agenda, the Wichita-Sedgwick County Metropolitan Area Planning Commission and the Wichita-Sedgwick County Board of Zoning Appeals would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this public hearing. For those in attendance, copies of the agenda for today's meeting, the public hearing procedure, and Planning Department staff reports on all agenda items are available in the lobby. The Planning Commission's and the BZA's bylaws limit the applicant on a zoning, subdivision, or variance application and his or her representatives to a total of 10 minutes of speaking time at the start of the hearing on that item, plus up to 2 minutes at the conclusion of that hearing. All other persons wishing to speak on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes per person. However, if they feel that it is needed and justified, the chairman may extend these times by up to 2 minutes. All speakers are requested to state his or her name and address for the record when beginning to speak. When you are finished speaking, please share your name, address, and the case number on the sheet provided in the room. This will enable staff to notify you if there are any additional proceedings concerning that item. All speakers at the podium, please remove your face mask before speaking into the microphone. Please note that all written and visual materials you present to the Commission and the Board will be retained by the Secretary as part of the official record. If you are not speaking, but you wish to be notified about future proceedings on a particular case, please provide your contact information to the Planning Department.
Hey, Patrick,
The Planning Commission and the Board are interested in hearing the views of all persons who wish to express themselves on all the agenda items. However, we ask that all speakers please be as courteous and concise as possible and avoid long repetitions of facts or opinions which have already been stated. For your information, the Wichita City Council has adopted a policy for all city zoning items. A copy of this policy is available from the planning staff. The City Council relies on a written record of the Planning Commission hearings and does not conduct its own additional public hearings on these items. The decision of the BZA is final. Any appeal of a decision of the BZA is to the District Court.
Thank you very much for the opening comments. At this time, we have some business from our April 8th meeting. We were unable to approve the minutes for that meeting on the 22nd. At this point, I know that myself, McKay, Dool, Warren, Foster, Fox, Gross, and Miles are all present, and those were the people, the commissioners that were present at the conclusion of that meeting. And at this point, those are the only commissioners that can vote to approve the minutes from the April 8th meeting. All others will have to abstain from voting on that minutes from that meeting.
Chairman, I've moved to approve those meetings, that meeting.
It was moved by Mr. Warren, second by Mr. McKay, to approve the minutes from our April 8th meeting. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. And those abstaining
4 abstentions.
would be 4. So the motion carries 8-0-4. With that, we'll move to the approval of the minutes for our April 22nd meeting, and I show Fox, Gross, Blick, and Hartman as being absent for that meeting.
I move for approval.
Second?
It's been moved by, was that Mr. Hartman or Mr. Florence?
Joe Johnson.
Oh, it's Joe Johnson, okay. Moved by Joe Johnson, the second was Mr. Warren. Are there any questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And abstaining would be 3 abstaining. So the motion carries 9-0-3. Moving on to our agenda, our first case will be subdivision 2020-0066, one-step final plat, Camden Hill Edition. Is there anyone on the commission that would like to hear this case? Hearing none, is there anyone in the council chambers that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anyone virtually that would like to hear this case? Camden Hill Edition. Hearing none, we will take that on consent. Next, we have sub 21-00017, one-step final plat for Monarch Landing 5th Edition. Is there anyone on the commission that would like to hear this case? Hearing none, is there anyone in the chambers that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anyone virtually that would like to hear this case? Monarch Landing 5th Edition. Hearing none, we'll take that on consent. Moving on, sub 2121, one-step final plat in Hillman Edition. Is there anyone on the commission that would like to hear this case?
I have just a question.
Staff question?
Yeah,
Okay.
just, Neil's here.
Yeah, let me go through, and then as soon as I find out, then I'll let you ask your question. Is there anyone in the chambers that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anyone virtually that would like to hear this case? In Hillman Edition. Hearing none,
Well,
Neil, if you could come to.
yeah, subdivision, there was a condition on the driveways. Has that been taken care of?
That's been met.
Fine, that's all I want to know.
Yep. Thank you, Neil. We will take that one on consent. Next case is 2122, one-step final plat, South Range Line Edition. Is there anyone on the commission that would like to hear this case? Hearing none, is there anyone in the chambers that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anyone virtually that would like to hear this case? South Range Line Edition. Hearing none, we'll take that on consent.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve 2-1 through 2-4.
A second.
It's been moved by Mr. Bill Johnson, second by Mr. Nix, to approve. Are there any questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. Moving on to our vacation cases, vacation 2116. It's a vacation of a portion of a platted front yard setback located at 640 South Keith Avenue. Is there anyone on the commission that would like to hear this case? Hearing none, is there anyone in the chambers that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anyone virtually that would like to hear this case? located at 640 South Keith Avenue. Hearing none, we'll take that on consent. Vacation 210017, vacation of a portion of a platted street side yard setback located at 550 North Hillside. Is there anyone on the commission that would like to hear this case? Hearing none, is there anyone in the chambers that would like to hear this case? Excuse me, seeing none, is there anyone virtually that would like to hear this case? Located at 550 North Hillside. Hearing none, we will take that on consent. Next, we have vacation 210018, vacation of a portion of a platted front yard setback located at 9750 East 21st Street North. Is there anyone on the commission that would like to hear this case? Hearing none, is there anyone in the chambers that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anyone virtually that would like to hear this case?
I move for approval of all vacation easements.
Been moved by Mr. Joe Johnson,
Second.
Second.
second by Ms. Foster, to approve items 3.1, 2, and 3.3. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to our public hearing, we have conditional 210014, associated with zoning 210006. It's to allow limited indoor recycling, located at 624 East Morris. Is there anyone on the commission that would like to hear this case?
Mr. Chairman, I got to abstain from this item.
Okay,
I'd like to hear the case, please.
and so we will hear this case. The next case, 4.2, has been deferred to our first meeting in June. Next, we have conditional 210016. It's a conditional use to allow an accessory apartment located at 1330 West Bones Circle. Is there anyone on the commission that would like to hear this case? Hearing none, is there anyone in the council chambers that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anyone virtually that would like to hear this case? Located at 1330 West Bones Circle. Hearing none, we will take that on consent. Next, we have Zone 210016, city zone change from TF3 two-family and SF5 single-family to multifamily 29, located at 641 West 18th Street North. Is there anyone on the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anyone in the council chambers that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anyone virtually that would like to hear this case?
Mr. Chairman, is that numbered wrong?
Expand on that question, Joe.
Well, we have 4.3 is 16 and 4.4 is 16.
Yeah, 4.3, Joe, was a conditional use, and this is a zoning Are we good?
No, they're different addresses.
And they're different
Yeah, they're not-
addresses? One's a zoning case and the other one is a conditional use case.
But they're different addresses.
They're different cases.
Yeah, and correct. That is correct.
I see, okay.
Oh, I
I got
see,
it.
I see.
Yeah, it's Con 21 versus Zone 21, 16.
Got it. Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question. So we are back to, is there anyone virtually that would like to hear this zoning case, number 16, located at 641 West 18th Street North? Hearing none, we will take that on consent. Do I have a
Chairman, I would
motion?
move to approve agenda items 4.3 and 4.4.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Warren and a second by Mr. Hartman to approve items 4.3 and 4.4. Are there any questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on, is there anyone on the commission that wants to, no, we're gonna hear this next case, 5.1. Just wanted to get a rise out of you, Scott. Okay, at this point, we will recess the planning commission meeting and convene the BZA Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. First, we have the approval of our minutes for April 22nd.
Moves for approval.
And I show Fox, Gross, Blick, and Hartman as being absent. And Mr. McKay has made a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
And we have a motion by Mr. McKay, second by Ms. Miles, to approve the minutes of the April 22nd meeting of BZA. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Our first case is BZA 2021-00018, located 4729 West 21st Street North. Is there anyone on the commission that would like to hear this case? Hearing none, is there anyone virtually that would like to hear this case? Hearing none, and I don't see anyone in the council chambers that wants to hear this case. So we will, I'll take this one on consent, and if I could have a motion, please.
Move to approve?
Second.
It's been moved to grant the,
Variance.
sorry, the take the recommended action on this case. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries, and that was to approve the variance. Okay, looks like we will go to our first case, which is item 4.1, and Mr. Bill Johnson is abstaining from hearing this case.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Kathy Morgan for the Planning Department. This case is a zone change from B multifamily and general commercial to LI limited industrial, and it also has a conditional use for expansion of an existing recycling and indoor recycling. So if you look at the zoning map, you see on the northeast corner of St. Francis and Morris, that is zoned general commercial. There are 2 blocks to the south, on the south side of Morris, that are B multifamily. Those lots are vacant. And then there's a general commercial at the southwest corner of Santa Fe and Morris. And if you will look at your staff report, we've put in matrices so that you can see what the applicant is asking for. They're asking for indoor recycling on all 3 of these pieces of properties that are being changed to LI limited industrial. And this area is located in the community investments plan for future land use as industrial. Can you go to that map, please? There you go. And then it's also in Wichita Places for People plan for urban landfill. There's not any specific recommendations for this location, but this site, they do encourage infill and development that is contextual to the environment in which it is occurring. And from the zoning map, you could see that it's general commercial, limited industrial, and then the east side of St. Francis Street is B multifamily, and those have single-family residences on them. There's the recommendations for the conditional use includes the basic language that was in Con 2010-22. We did add number 16, conditional use number 16, that would maintain the B multifamily zoning at the southeast corner of St. Francis Avenue and Morris Street, with the recommendation that on the site plan that the proposed building at that location be moved. There you go. The proposed building at that location be moved north to where the parking area is shown, and that a landscaped buffer with a screening fence be put in there. Go back. Go to the pictures, can you? Oh, those aren't the right pictures. Oh, yes, they are. I forgot that it snowed that day when I was out there. That's been a long time ago. So this is looking east at the site from St. Francis. Sorry about that. And that's the vacant lot that the applicant wanted to use as parking. And so you can see there are a dock with a lot of bays that trucks come in there and unload their recycling materials. Next. That's looking northeast at that same from St. Francis. Next. This is the existing building, business, and it's looking northwest at the corner of Santa Fe and Morris. Next. This is looking looking west along Morris Street. Next. This is looking from the parking lot behind to the west of the existing business, toward the GC General Commercial Zoning across Morris Street. Next. This is looking southwest from that parking lot to where the 2 vacant B multifamily lots are. Next. Oh, go back. So what we're recommending, what staff is recommending, can you go back to the site plan that was submitted, please? Okay, so what we're recommending is that the lots, according to your staff report, if you go, we'll go to that matrix, is that the general commercial be changed to limited industrial for the northeast corner of Morris and St. Francis. The 2 lots at the southeast corner of Morris and St. Francis would remain multifamily and be allowed to use as ancillary parking for the business, and no recycling would take place on those two lots. The southwest corner of Santa Fe and Morris is currently general commercial, and staff is recommending that it be changed to limited industrial. In evaluating this, we found that the proposed application did comply or was compliant with the comprehensive plan, the South Central Neighborhood Plan, and that the application should be approved. This was heard by District Advisory Board 3 last night, and it was approved as the report is presented by a vote of 7-1. And I will answer any questions.
Are there any questions for staff? Mr. Warren?
Yeah, Kathy, on the staff report, page 2, there's a chart that shows the breakdown of the lots and what, that is the applicant's request?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
sir.
and then the one on page 3 is the staff recommendation?
yes,
Just
sir.
make sure I was, okay, that's all I needed, thank you.
And are there any other questions for Kathy? You said that it was heard at the District Advisory Board last night, and they approved 7-1 the staff recommendation of the area that's B multifamily, that maintain its B multifamily
Yes,
status. And the other
that's
two-
correct.
Okay, all righty. Just a point of clarification.
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Hartman?
And why is the staff suggesting that?
Yeah.
Why is
Why is staff
because
recommending that the B
Yeah.
multifamily maintain that same zoning classification?
in the South Central plan, they have identified that area as remaining residential for future residential development, and it does show that the industrial is immediately abutting that residential. And so they didn't want, we didn't want necessarily the industrial to move into that block to the south on the east side of St. Francis.
So how long has it been vacant? Did you say 7 years?
Since 1997,
23.
22 years.
So let me see if I just understand. So the difference is the applicant says yes for indoor recycling, and you're saying that it's just for ancillary parking to provide
Right.
some landscaping. But it's been vacant for how many years?
since 1997.
That'd be 20
Well,
23 years.
okay. So, just goofy question, but then, so when do we think there'd be some multifamily, I mean, it's,
That's dependent upon the market. I can't really
well, yeah,
answer that, but that's what was discussed and what was adopted.
I didn't expect you to answer, it was kind of a rhetorical question.
Oh, okay, sorry. Don't ask me.
Okay, I'm
this.
sorry.
She loves rhetorical questions,
Yeah.
giving rhetorical answers.
All right, okay, you got it.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Dool? Yeah, you're on.
So from the aerial map, it appears that those two lots are vacant right now. There's a house next to them, but I'm wondering why you don't change those to limited industrial as the other ones were requested to be, and if someone wanted to develop them at a later point, they can always go back and change the zoning.
That could happen. It's just staff's recommendation so that it complies with the adopted plans for that neighborhood.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask Kathy a question?
Yes, please do.
Do the applicants have any objection to your staff suggestion that they move the building from the south parcel to the north parcel and move the parking to the south parcel to act as a buffer?
The agent is here for the applicant, so I'm going to let them address all of this in their 10 minutes.
And with that, are there any other questions for staff before we have the agent for the applicant come forward? Any other questions? Hearing none, we will now have the agent, Mr. Miller. You could state your name and address for the record, and you have 10 minutes.
Kirk Miller, K.E. Miller Engineering, 117 East Louis. I'm the agent for the applicant. And we want to have, we basically have a three parcel site, because we have roads dividing into these three different parcels we're trying to rezone. And to work best with what they want to do, we really need to have that south part industrial where they can go ahead and put a building on there. So that middle part, they can use that for access and storage or whatever they need to do in their temporary storage. So it's really an access issue why they want that south one to be industrial right now rather than leave it and try to rezone it later. And if you look at the properties to the south, to start with on that block that we're questioning with the where the staff recommends a B zoning, everything on Santa Fe over there is zoned commercial, but if you look at the uses of it, it's all industrial uses. I don't know how it, I guess they just kind of been there for a long time. And they're not well kept either. I mean, they're not, they look like industrial uses, like older industrial uses, older buildings. So these houses that are on this block right now, they back up to what is essentially industrial uses, older industrial. If this becomes industrial, this one lot, and then, I mean, realistically over time, this entire block will probably become industrial on St. Francis. Because these houses are, I looked it up on GIS, they're 100 years old. Most of them are owner occupied, but those owners have been there for 30 plus years. So these houses are bound to change ownership in a relatively short period of time. GIS also has them listed as in average to fair condition. So there's obviously work that needs to be done to them. And just a house like that, it could go into probate. If somebody dies that lives there, it goes into probate. And, then it may sit vacant for a year or two. And at that point, it may not be able to be salvaged. The GIS showed the values of these lots like around $40,000 or less of the entire structure in the lot, around $40,000 or less. So they're not really meant for a redevelopment of single-family residential like is on there right now. And it would be tough to do multifamily because they back up to that industrial. If these houses are run down and removed at some point, then you will have the view from across the street of the back of an industrial area. Whereas if these houses at some point are torn down or run down or whatever and become industrial, then you will have new buildings which will actually work as a buffer between the older industrial area and the single family area. So I see where the staff comments come from because of that neighborhood plan, but then you look at the comprehensive plan and this fits in an industrial area. So we would prefer, and we would request that all three of the parcels be zoned with the LI with the conditional use that we're requesting, and that the item number 16 be removed from the staff report. I'd be glad to try to answer any questions.
Yeah, are there any questions for Mr. Miller? Ms. Fox, did you have? No?
He's answered what I wondered about.
Mr. Green?
Yes, yeah, I was, Mr. Warren?
Kurt, on your site plan, there's on the building that we're talking about, that middle parcel of the southeast corner, there's a dark, assuming that's a buffer. Can you explain what the plan is for that area that would be south side of the lot?
I think that's probably just more of a setback from the lot line.
More of a setback?
Yeah.
Is there any kind of buffering, or what kind of building are you looking at, or what are you?
That would be addressed with...
what would that resident see? I guess is kind of what I'm looking at. What would the resident see to the north?
I would assume they're going to see the building, but I'm sure there are going to be requirements as far as screening and that type of thing.
Okay.
From the planning department.
Yeah, Kathy's back there thinking that there will be, that area will have a screening wall
Right.
and plantings.
And these would be addressed with the MAPCD.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Miller from the commission?
One,
Yes, Mr. McKay?
last night at the DAB meeting, was there any, if any of the neighborhood resistance, I guess, yeah.
I haven't heard anything, and there was nobody that spoke about it last night.
That's what I.
During your presentation, was that the two lots that are in question, was LI zoning mentioned as an option for that as opposed to maintaining the
No,
current
we
zone?
voted based on what the staff recommendation was in the report.
Okay,
And I did have one phone call from a gentleman that lived just south of there in one of those residences that all he said was he didn't want the B multifamily zoning change.
okay. Are there any other questions for Mr. Miller? Hearing none, stand by. Is there anyone virtually that would like to provide testimony on this case? Hearing none, we will bring this back to the commission for action, discussion. Yes, Mr. Warren?
Chairman, I would move that we approve the application with the one exception from staff recommendation, and that would be that the two lots on the southeast of Morris and Santa Fe be changed to limited industrial, and that it would be allowed to have indoor recycling.
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded. Basically, we would be removing number 16.
Basically, per the applicant's request versus
Per
the
the
staff
applicant's request.
Correct. Okay. All right, any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we will, it was moved by Mr. Warren and seconded by Mr. McKay to
Go ahead.
approve the case with the exception of lots, the southeast corner of Morris and St. Francis, basically removing item 16 and maintaining, or the applicant's request to have that stay limited industrial, or changed to limited industrial. So with that, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed,
Aye.
nay. Motion carries unanimously. Next, we have Mary presenting to us the land bank policy.
You're gonna give us a shortened version, aren't you, Mary? This is going for 2 days.
All right, well, good afternoon, Chairman and Commissioners, some of whom I remember from our urban infill days. I'm Mary Hunt with the MAPD. And next slide, please. Today, I am going to ask you for a recommendation to the City Council to approve an ordinance that would establish the land bank. Along with that, it would also authorize our City Council to form the Board of Trustees for the land bank. All right, so I just want to give you just a very brief recap on what we've done with just land bank. Our public engagement process started back in mid-February, where we had a Facebook town hall, had very, very good response to that. Several thousand people logged on to watch that. In March, we met with all of the DABs and various other groups. We went to the Rotary, we went to downtown Wichita. Any group that would accept our invitation, that's where we went and presented on this. And then in April 22nd, just a short while ago, we went to Advanced Plans, and they gave it their endorsement as well. So today we're here, and on May 18th, if all goes well, we'll go to the City Council for the first reading. Next slide. Okay, so here's some of the groups that we went to. Went to, WABA, the DABs, lots of community organizations, neighborhood associations, things like that. Next slide. Okay, and we had various ways for people to communicate with us. We had our social media event, but we also had email. We had our website where people could put in comments, just the telephone to our office, and people used all of these forms to communicate their ideas. And a lot of that is in the summary, the public engagement recap that's in your packet. Next slide, please. Okay, so as I said, our purpose today, we want your recommendation on this ordinance so we can send it to the council on the 18th. Next. And just a little background, we started with the Community Investments Plan that was back like around 2012 to 2016. That led to the Wichita Places for People Plan, which is the Urban Infill Advisory Group. And from that, we have recommendations on zoning, incentives, as well as the land bank. And today we're here for land bank. Next slide, please. Okay. As you remember, the Community Investment Plan, our comp plan, has a heavy infrastructure focus. It established what the urban infill strategy, as well as identifying what the established central area would be. Next slide. And of course, there's a lengthy process, lots of meetings, etc. Next slide. And like through all of this, whether it was the comp plan or even right today when we're working on land bank and other things, we live in an era of fiscal constraints. Wondering where the money's going to come from and how do we control all the expenses. We know a trend of smaller household size, a more diverse community, and people are simply living to be older. We have preference for more transportation options in addition to the automobile. And like a lot of places, we compete for talent just like other cities. Next slide, please. So we came up with the urban infill strategy out of this plan. And the idea was to reverse patterns of abandonment, reduce the growth pressures on the edges of our city, make more efficient use of our land and our infrastructure and our services. It's sewer pipes, water pipes, but also police and fire, and the people that do a lot of code enforcement and neighborhood inspections. Overall, we want to improve the quality of life in these areas that are experiencing decline. Next slide. Thank you. And this is the established central area, that bright red line. It runs from 29th Street up north, 31st Street down south, Ridge Road on the west, and Rock Road on the east. And it's about half of our city's landmass. It's about half our population, but it still has 2/3 of all our jobs. And that green area, that bright green area in the middle, that's the area that was built up here in Wichita right at the onset of World War II. Next slide. So Places for People came out of this, and the vision was better neighborhoods, vibrant centers, a strong economy, and we do that by infill reinvestment, building things so that neighborhoods are walkable, people have options with transportation as well as housing. Next slide. Here again, just a different map of the established central area, or the ECA. This is where we identified some nodes or some intersections throughout town that could be targets for some reinvestment. Now we know we're not going to be able to invest in every single one of them, but they all are good candidates. On the background there, you see two colors. You see the light orange. These are the areas that are a little more stressed than other areas, and they're going to need a little more investment. And the purple areas are neighborhoods within the ECA that are still viable, still strong, and we want to keep them that way. Next slide. So when we did the Places for People plan, we had an advisory committee, stakeholders, city council appointed people, neighborhood associations sent in their representatives. We had public meetings, open houses, as well as private presentations, and we had a visual preference survey that talked about design. Next slide. And so we came up with the land bank recommendations, zoning, and things to do with investment strategy. We're still working on the second two, but we're here today to talk about land bank. Next slide. So what's a land bank? A land bank is a government entity. It's focused on converting land to productive use. We're looking at vacant land, abandoned land, tax delinquent property. Next slide. Oh, here's a couple of pictures from our friends over at Habitat. Photo on the left is a distressed property, but this is after they've done considerable cleanup, and it's still not done, okay, at the time the photo was taken. If you look on the right, the same property now has some really cute little homes there, and that shows what can be done here. Next slide. Okay, what we did is we took a look at 8 other communities, taking into consideration that different states have different laws regarding land banks. So we tried to focus on Kansas, but there's a couple others in there. And we looked at how they organized, what their priorities were, how they operated. Next slide. And of course, how their board members are appointed, often by elected officials, and that's what we're kind of recommending here. Do they engage in in-house rehab? Are they actually in the development business, or do they let others do that through partnerships, whether it's for profit or nonprofit organizations? Overall, the focus is revitalization, affordable housing, and home ownership. Next slide. Okay, we did find that a subsidy is required no matter what land bank you have. Understand, the land bank is not a real estate broker. Its goal is not just to make money. If it did, it would just be competing with all the other people that are out there. It will require a subsidy because in the long run, hopefully those neighborhoods will turn around and they'll be paying their taxes and taking care of property. We also found that staffing in these various land banks could run from as few as 1 person to as many as 7. The one we found with 7, they happened to be in the real estate development business, so they had more staff on hand. Next slide. Okay, so land banks have tools. They have the ability to abate some special assessments and back taxes. They can manage and maintain properties. They can sort through the ownership and title issues, and I'll tell you, the way a land bank would hold on to property for a little while is because they need to sort through title issues. And then, again, focused on their attention on revitalization. Next slide. Okay, so on our website, we have the draft mission statement, a draft ordinance and bylaws, policies, and then a page of several pages of frequently asked questions. Next slide. Okay, and here's the mission statement. The land bank will promote revitalization of neighborhoods, consistent with Places for People plan through the management and transfer of properties that are underutilized. Next slide, please. So the ordinance, and that's what we're asking for today, is for your recommendation on the ordinance. It'll do 2 things. It'll establish the land bank, and then it allows the city council to appoint the board of trustees. At this point, we're recommending 7 members. What we've also put in here is that it will allow advisory committees. So if the land bank is doing business in a certain part of town, and they're going to be doing business in that part of town for a little while, they want to pull in people from the neighborhood to help give that vantage point that only people living there can have. And that several years from now, if they end up kind of shifting their attention to another part of town, then they can tell the first group that their job is done and then go to another part of town and set up an advisory group for that. Because nobody knows the neighborhoods in that much detail other than the people that live there. And so the geography is, the ordinance will actually cover the entire city of Wichita, but the focus is on the established central area. And we did that because you just never know when there might be an opportunity out there beyond the established central area for something to be picked up. And we didn't want to have to come back and amend the ordinance at that point. But the focus is on the ECA and any other underutilized or distressed properties. Next slide. Okay. So the land bank is allowed to handle the purchase, sale, or transfer of property, but it'll be recommended by the land bank, but the city council will approve every transaction. They are strictly an advisory board to the city council. And this was probably the single most common question that always comes up, and it's to assure people that the state law prohibits any land bank from engaging in eminent domain. Next slide. Okay, so what happens? An applicant makes a proposal, what they'd like to do, whether it's to donate land, buy land, purchase land. There's an application process for that. And then that goes to the Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees makes an evaluation based upon goals and such, and they then make that recommendation to the City Council. And I'll point out that whether it's a Board of Trustee meeting or City Council, they're always open to the public. Next slide. Okay, again, focus on the established central area. The priorities are affordable housing and the revitalization of neighborhoods. And that doesn't just mean their houses. It can be, open space. Maybe there might be an opportunity for some retail or commercial investment at some point, but it's all of it. Next slide. Okay. We're very committed to a quick property transition, meaning it's not a holding company for real estate. It also means that the land bank doesn't have to accept every piece of property that someone says, hey, would you like this piece of property? Would you like to buy this from me? Could I donate it to you? The answer might be no. There might not be part of their strategic vision for a particular neighborhood. So there is limited carrying capacity. And I said earlier too, if you've got title issues, that might keep something in the land bank for a little while they work that out. But the idea is to move it in and move it out. Okay, so we'll have an application process no matter which way the property is going. And again, all of these transactions have to be approved by the city council. Next slide. Okay, so here are our frequently asked questions that's still on our website. What is the bank? What are the benefits, the authority, the formation, the function? And you even talked about the difference between urban renewal and the land bank. Next slide. Okay, next steps. Next slide, please. Okay. Right now, I'd be happy to take any questions. And then once we've answered all of those, we'll ask for you to vote.
Mary,
Yes.
I thought the established central area was 87 square miles, and this says that this will impact 166 square miles, which is what the web says the city of Wichita is. So we're looking to do the city of Wichita, not just the ECU.
That's
or
correct.
ECA.
That's
okay,
correct.
thank you.
Yes.
Yay.
It would apply to
But
the entire city.
was there any discussion of the whole county, however, the whole county less unincorporated areas?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Mr. Dool?
Does is the land bank responsible for real estate taxes on the property that they hold?
They can abate those taxes. So no, there won't be any taxes to pay.
Is there a clearinghouse of properties, or will there be a clearinghouse listing all the properties that the land bank is holding at any given time?
Yes.
And how is that conveyed to prospective buyers for these properties?
Yeah. An inventory of all property would be posted on the website. It's available for anyone to look at. So that's how somebody decides, I'll take a look at this and I may put together a proposal for that land. And it'll have to be maintained all of the time.
Mr. Warren, did you have any?
Yeah, Mary, one of the flow charts, and I can't remember if it was on screen 23 or 26, but it started with an applicant, and then the land bank, and then up to the city council.
Right.
If the beginning point being the application, if there's not any application, if it kind of, you get to that point, does the land bank have the ability within their bylaws to go out and seek? I know they can't take something by eminent domain, but can they seek to engage with property owners to see if they would be interested in selling property if it's abandoned or in disrepair?
They certainly can.
Okay.
Yes. They can go out and solicit proposals.
Okay.
Mr. McKay?
One thing that we talked about at length, and I was on this committee, so that's the reason I'm saying this, is we want to try to create a private-public relationship working together to make this happen. And there's the reason why it says the main district, it was the boundary that we had showed that we had, because there's properties outside of that that are very prevalent that could go into this, but we would have to probably initiate that happening rather than somebody coming to us, because they're just not going to do it. So that's one of the items and things that we talk about. One of the things we talked about also, there's when we took right away to 13th Street, there's some half lots there that you really cannot develop. So I think, they're going to we'll come up with a plan on how to do something with them, like ask the next door neighbor, would you like to buy this piece of property or whatever it might be, And that gets it back on the tax roll. So there's a lot of good. I'd also like to thank Mary for all the 2.5 years of hard work she's done along with the whole staff. And the next time you guys see Jeff, the attorney, Van Zandt, boy, please thank him, because he's worked his butt off on this.
Yes.
I'll
Try
second
to
that.
please 15 people.
I just have to express this is a very exciting thing for folks who work in trying to revitalize the core, It is challenging to acquire some of these properties, but boy, the difference when they're improved is incredible. I did a little report for Scott, and I think I sent it to you, Mary. 67 lots that Habitat has touched since 2014 have gone from $6,000 in property tax billings to $51,000 in property tax billings in 7 years. Now, there has been some HUD financing that supported the gap in building those homes, so it's not free and clear money at this point, but that $51,000 is going to proceed going forward with no additional investment. So I think when we get those vacant properties put into productive use, there's a real benefit for our city, and that doesn't even begin to count the end of calls for fire and cleanup and all the special assessments for mowing and all that goes on when a property is unattended. So
When
thank you.
You have a handful of neglected properties, and now they're not. Now they're productive, and they have a nice structure on them and such. The people in the surrounding neighborhood now have confidence in investing in their own properties, whereas before, if they thought their neighborhood was going down, they're not going to do that.
I just want to
Following
say,
Dan's great comments, I would move for approval.
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind, Joe. I think we still have a few more comments that are going to be made, and then we'll take that
You can
motion.
have a motion and then talk about the motion.
I just want to say I'm glad the city's behind this. Past years in the commercial building business, trying to build stuff in the central part of the city made it very, very, very difficult. Lots of requirements that were hard to meet, and it forced people to go out and buy bigger pieces of ground to build complexes or facilities on, rather than fighting the situation trying to do it. And I'm glad to see the city's behind this program.
Yeah, I was going to, I think anything that the city can do to expedite these types of properties and getting them back onto the tax roll and helping to make neighborhoods safer is a great plan. And with that being said, I'll second Mr. Joe Johnson's.
Well, I like to say that as long as these they rely upon people within the communities themselves to work actively in this process, that's encouraging to me, because as Mary said, the people in those communities know about their community and what they want their community to look like, and I'm glad they are included in this process.
Thank you, Terrell. Are there any more comments or questions, concerns? We do have a motion on the floor by Mr. Joe Johnson, second by Mr. Green, to take the recommended action as found on page 3. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Wadle, are there any other items that we need to bring before the commission before we adjourn?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. There's one thing I'd like to bring to your attention, and that is that we as staff, we owe you an apology, because one of the cases that you considered at your last meeting, I believe it was zoning case 21-12, that was one that was out in the unincorporated county. It was out near Goddard. That was one that was contentious because of, not really because of the zoning, but because of the platting that is associated with that one. That's one with the driveway, with the street connection. I think it was approximately 20 lots, somewhere in there. That was also the one that the individual chimed in after the process, after the vote, the MAPC vote. Well, we had indicated that we had received no comments on that. In fact, we had received about 8 emails. So I have printed copies of those emails. I'd like to distribute those to you so that you have them. We'll also email them to the folks who are joining virtually, the MAPC members that are joining virtually. I'll distribute those to you so that you have that information. Please be aware, though, that I would encourage you not to discuss the case or to comment on it at this point, because there is a chance that it could get returned to you from the Board of County Commissioners. So that's always there's always a chance that can happen with zoning cases, and so because of that, we'll get you the material. We know that you've already taken a vote on it and provided your recommendation, but you'll have that information, and then maybe possibly we'll see if it comes back to you. So, but on our behalf, sorry that we missed that one, but like I said, we're getting it to you, and we'll see what happens with it.
Thank you. Any other items that need to be discussed? If not, we are adjourned.